I don't think Netflix could care less.
No,
They
I'm
put
sure
out
they
some
don't.
letter and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry. We strive to offer the best services. More money, please."
I'm so sick of these streaming services. We are getting worse and worse and worse. Like, I think that they've made people so technologically stupid that piracy is going to have a difficult time coming back because these newer generations don't know anything about technology, and they don't use computers. Everything's a swipe, everything's a tablet, everything's whatever, which are like locked down technologically to where you don't have access to be able to like, oh, yo, I'm going to just open up a terminal. I'm going to get like blah, blah, blah. These generations don't have these
That's true.
skills.
I used to be way better at computers when I was younger, when I was using them and needed to. And then now that, I don't have to download things from the internet, and things are, you can just get it by paying a couple bucks.
Oh,
I've lost all my ability to.
I talk to people all the time that think I'm an alien because I have a desktop like at home. They're like,
Oh, really?
what? Or I have a desktop here, and they're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that like? And it's the best,
And it's
actually.
not just for gaming.
But anyway, yeah, that's freaking Netflix. Burn them to the ground.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't have any like other really big news that I wanted
So I
to
was
talk
saying
about.
there really wasn't.
Yeah, there wasn't much. There was some leaked footage from the Avatar, The Last Airbender movie, Aang, The Last Airbender. A couple of leaked clips that are out there.
I think
floating
I
around
saw that. I
online.
thought it was a fan made thing. I didn't realize that was a.
So those are out there. You can check those out. So yeah, that's going on. Yeah, let's go ahead and just move on. Because the internet situation. Speaking of what we were talking about earlier, is a little shoddy. So I want to try and get through all of this stuff before we don't have good internet. But let's talk about how
Vince says that whole
movie
movie's-
is leaked.
Dang. Dude, if you're a Last Airbender fan,
I'm
get out there and find it.
Yeah, might just dust off my old ability to find screener copies. Yeah, I just got sent a screener. That was always our excuse in many years back on the drive-in speaker box for watching movies that weren't on streaming. It's like, we got a stream.
Or like when they're like,
screener copy.
when your internet service provider's like, hey, why'd you download that thing? You're like, well, I downloaded what? What are you talking about? And then you're like, oh, that's crazy. I use Opera browser. I didn't realize because Opera has a torrent service built into it.
Mm-hmm.
At least used to. I forgot to get the AOL 40 free hour disc this week.
Yeah, for the internet.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about what's coming out on movie theater screens this week, because it is another week. We've got April 17th, 2026. We've got a handful of movies coming out. I don't know how I feel about this. The more trailers I see, but Lee Cronin's The Mummy. So this movie is of course, exploring the tale of the mummy's curse. I don't know if this is Dark Universe related. Probably not. Lee Cronin, throwing his name on. I think it's a very stupid and douchebaggy move to put your name in. Like, you're not Tyler Perry, dude.
That's who you go with.
But he's like the only one that's
It's not like John Carpenter or Steven Spielberg or
But
something
Steven
like
Spielberg, that's not the title. Steven Spielberg's like, oh yeah, Steven Spielberg's this. You just know because you want to say it. This is like the title is Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
that. Oh,
And,
like that's the title
like
of the
look,
movie.
look, there it is. Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
Oh.
Yeah, that's dumb. It's kind of like Tyler Perry's Medea. And I hate that. And Lee Cronin's like, dude, you don't even get to do this yet because you haven't made enough movies that are worth watching to do this yet. So, I think Evil Dead Rise was like his movie that everyone was like, whoa, okay, you made a movie. Arguably a decent horror movie. Also, arguably, a really, 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 really bad Evil Dead movie. So, don't put your name on this, man. Or like American McGee's Alice. You remember that video game? And he's like, I'm going to make, this was his first game. And it's like, oh, well, who cares about you, dog? It's like you're trying to, it's like people that give themselves.
Alice the horror game?
Well, it was like an old one. It was like in the 90s. American McGee's House. It's like when people give themselves their own nickname. You just can't do that. Like you come around and you're just like, yeah, I'm Slick Doggy, and it just doesn't make.
I knew you were going to. I knew, dude. I knew it.
Set it up,
dude.
Knock them down.
I didn't do that. The lore of that is that I didn't do that. That's a legit thing, man.
Okay.
I've had people on the street refer to me as Slick Doggy. That's real.
Who are these people?
Fans of the show?
Do you take medication to make sure you don't see them at night? Like
Fans of the show.
Okay.
Would that be funny? All of those like you're like sleep paralysis demons, but they're like
and they're just going,
the
hey,
celebrities.
Hey, Slick Doggy.
Yeah, it's just people be like, yo, Slick Doggy. Have you seen the one where it's like Arnold and he just like berates you and he's like in his like commando outfit with the red shirt and he's like smoking his stogie and he's like, you beauty. It's like,
that would be awesome. Actually, I want that to be my sleep paralysis demon.
Like, you're puny. Look at you.
Never going to get any rest.
Yeah, it's really funny.
You sleep like a loser.
Yeah, dude. If a commando era spiky hair Arnold was my sleep paralysis,
yes,
just
please.
like standing there, I'd be like,
I just wake up and do push-ups.
Stupid Arnold.
So anyway, Lee Cronin's The Mummy is coming out, and when I originally saw the trailer for this, I was like, okay, pretty cool, looks interesting, yada yada yada, until I saw more of these trailers, and they had to make The Mummy's Curse affect this young girl, like a child girl, and I don't think that's not scary to me. It's just absurd and stupid to me, and I don't like creepy little girl horror anyway.
Yeah.
It's lame.
You know what mummies are cool? Boris Karloff mummies.
Exactly. And you know
like
what? Old
Noxinamun obsessed mummies.
And if they wanted to make it like historically accurate, Egyptians were tiny anyway. Like people were small back then. They don't have to actually make them a tiny young girl. It could be like, yeah, well, it's just a little mummy guy.
That's
you
true.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't freaking know. The more trailers I see about this, the less I get excited about it, and it's coming out this weekend, so we will see what happens. Also coming out this week, this is a comedy I never thought would hit theaters, but here it is, Bus Boys. And this is written by David Spade and Theo Vaughn, starring David Spade and Theo Vaughn, directed by Jonah Feingold. But it's a pair of idiot friends believe that they become waiters. All of their problems are going to be solved, and that's the plot of the movie.
And this is a theatrical release.
This is a theatrical release with it's one of those movies where I think David Spade and Theo Vaughn, because they're like podcast homies these days and they've made friends with a lot of people. So they're just like, let's just have a bunch of our dumbass friends come and be in this movie with us. So there's going to be a lot of like comedians doing cameos and it's going to be David Spade and Theo Vaughn being David Spade and Theo Vaughn. I've seen Theo Vaughn live. I don't understand all the hype. You know, he's funny-ish. I don't think he's that funny.
Well, but see, that's because you're Southern.
Oh.
It's people that
aren't Southern
also think that the Southern thing is funny.
Oh,
so like if you were someone on the outside looking.
So if I was like a Yank,
yeah. If
like, he's hilarious.
Oh, look at that dumb Louisiana idiot. Yeah,
I
think that really adds to it. But when you're from here and he's just a guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
He's like a guy I'd see at Walmart. And he's not that funny. David Spade, on the other hand, he ebbs and flows with me. Sometimes he's hilarious. Sometimes I'm like, get this guy out of Hollywood. But then I'm like, okay, this guy's hilarious again. Anyway, Bus Boys coming out in theaters this weekend. Another odd movie coming out in theaters this weekend. One that I honestly didn't know much about until it was coming out this week. And it's directed by Ben Wheatley. It's from the producers that did Nobody and some of the people that worked on John Wick. It's called Normal, and it's also written by Bob Odenkirk and starring Bob Odenkirk. Well, it's co-written by Bob Odenkirk. And it looks very much like his performance in Nobody. but it's a completely different plot. And I think maybe just Bob Odenkirk wants to be an action guy for a little bit before his body gives out.
All of his movies will start with N-O from now on.
Yeah, it's all nobody, normal, not today. What else can we do? Think noggin, flogging noggies. I don't know, whatever. But it's got an interesting cast. We watched the trailer a little while ago. It's Lena Headey is in it. Henry Winkler is in it, which you don't see him all the time. And yeah, it's just Bob Odenkirk as a sheriff in a small town discovers it looks like there's Yakuza stuff going on, and he just gets in the way of it and ends up fighting them off because Bob Odenkirk. It's weird because I think that's why nobody worked so well, is because Bob Odenkirk didn't look anything like an action star. And that's what made it interesting, is you're like, this guy, he's doing a lot of his own stunts, which is kind of interesting. But you're like, no, this guy's certainly not going to kick anybody's ass. And then he does, and he does a pretty good job at it. And it was the contrast of, this guy doesn't look like he can kick your ass, but then he does. But then there was nobody to, and now there's this, and it's like, when's this shit going to get old?
Maybe with Bruce Willis having to exit acting, Bob Odenkirk's like, well, I'll be the next comedy actor to be like synonymous with action.
And I think that's some steep boots to fill, but the trailer looks okay. It looks fun. It kind of a bit of one of those formulaic action comedies, but I kind of like that genre sometimes. So, somebody asked, Vince just asked on Twitch, is he the new Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson was always a serious actor. He just started doing comedy later on. I think he's the new Bruce Willis, who started out as comedy and then was pigeonholed into action. And then just became like the action star. But all he ever really wanted to do was comedy.
All he ever really wanted to do was be in a rock band.
He's, I was about to say he's the Garth Brooks of acting, who he just wanted to play rock and roll. And they said, man, you're never going to make it playing rock and roll. You're going to do country. And then
what's his goth persona?
That's what I was about to say. Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines.
Yeah, I was about to say. And that's when he made that movie. He's like, I'll show you guys that I'm so good at rock and roll.
Chris Gaines makes me love Garth Brooks.
Yeah, man, if you ever seen any of his concert footage, there's times where he just like kicks his boot out and then he like shreds, and his like country audience is like, okay, and then he goes back to playing country and they're like, ooh, because that's how they do it at country shows.
Dude,
he just wanted to rock, and they're like, well, this is what you got to do to make money and get by.
Okay, well, let's see. Next up, coming out in theaters,
Bob Odenkirk is Chris Gaines.
Yes, Bob Odenkirk is Chris Gaines. We've got a Lorne Michaels documentary, which is probably not going to get in a lot of theaters, but it is coming out only in theaters this weekend. Lorne Michaels is you should know that name. He's a creator of Saturday Night Live and a lot of other projects throughout the years. Kind of a comedy legend, but it's just a documentary about his life, and a lot of interviews with him, a lot of interviews with a lot of comedians. I think a lot of people will watch this just because of the amount of people that they interviewed in this that are all just kind of legends. But yeah, Lorne coming out in theaters this week. And then also coming out in theaters this week, Mother Mary. And Mother Mary, this is an odd-looking movie. This is written and directed by David Lowery, and that's the only reason I'm really interested in this, because the plot does not look super interesting to me. Its synopsis is: long-buried wounds rise to the surface when iconic pop star Mother Mary reunites with her estranged best friend and former costume designer Sam Enslin on the eve of her comeback performance. And this movie is starring Anne Hathaway, Michaela Coel, Hunter Schafer, just a lot of very runway-looking people. But it's, with music from Charlie XCX and FKA Twigs. It's like a lot of original music in this movie. But what is interesting is David Lowery is doing this. And David Lowery, he did A Ghost Story. I've actually met David Lowery, and he's a really good filmmaker. A Ghost Story is fantastic. He did The Green Knight in 2021, which I really liked. He liked Peach Dragon, which we both really enjoyed. He
did new one?
The new one, yeah.
Man, I really didn't want to like that movie, but it hits your feels.
And so David Lowery's he is a great director. and he doesn't do a whole lot of movies. You know, he was producing a lot, but he's only directed a handful. Well, I mean, he's directed a lot of shorts, and some TV. But man, his feature lengths are really interesting. He did that Peter Pan and Wendy, which wasn't very good.
I talked about that on the show.
But visually, it was very interesting. But substance-wise, it was not very great. But I'm here for it. I'm here for checking out a David Lowery project. And he did, I guess he did some of the Star Wars Skeleton Crew show too. So I don't know. I didn't watch it.
I think
The Jude Law one.
people that like Jude Law did a Star Wars. People that like Disney Star Wars liked that Skeleton Crew thing.
I don't know. There's too
No,
many
yeah.
Star Wars shows. I can't keep them all straight. So anyway, Mother Mary coming out in theater this week. And that's a lot of stuff. I mean, this past week didn't have a whole lot because I think they were giving room for Mario.
Yeah, we didn't have any. The only new thing we had here was Exit 8.
I wanted to see that so bad, and
I figured you would. That's why I told you. I wanted, Japanese horror thriller.
I wanted to see it, but I made the choice to go see the drama, which I guess I'll go ahead and just jump into that review. If you guys are ready for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Are we ready for it? Yeah, I went and saw the drama, and this was a movie that I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about. Some people being like, this was the stupidest movie I've ever seen. It was so pointless, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's an A24 dark comedy with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, written and directed by Christopher Borgli. And it's about this couple. They are newly engaged, and they are kind of writing their vows to one another, right? And they're, the movie starts by Rob Pat like kind of writing his speech to his fiance here, and he's with his buddy. They're talking about stuff to put into this speech, and they're going through these memories, and it's the very beginning just starts off as your generic, everything's fucking too cute, and the way that they meet is they're just disgustingly cute and good together, in that way that just kind of makes you want to vomit in your mouth a little bit. And you've got their friends, which are played by Mobedu Athi, who I really like, and Alana Haim, who I also think is a phenomenal actress. She's so good in this movie, I wanted to punch her face every single time. Like, I hated her character. And for an actress to, make me so viscerally angry at a person, it's like, that's a good performance right there. So, anyway, in the middle of all of this, there was a point that comes where all the two couples, they go and are picking out wine at a restaurant, right? And they're getting ready for we choose your hors d'oeuvres, we choose your wine. They're all sitting around, finishing a bottle of wine. They're all getting a little tipsy. And they start to play this game like, well, what's the worst thing you've ever done? And they're laughing, and they kind of, the first guy, the best man, he's like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to. He tells a story about, this dog or whatever. And it was just an embarrassing story. And then his wife goes in and tells the story about locking this kid in an RV when she was like a teenager, and he was like maybe had Down syndrome, and they're like, oh my God, that's so awful. And she ran away and left him there, and but they found him. And they start making their way around to Zendaya, and Zendaya reveals something that I don't want to reveal on the show because that's spoilers, right? And it's the whole kind of plot of the movie, but it is something that everybody kind of has a big issue with. And the interesting part about it is her reveal was, well, I didn't actually do it, but I almost did. And I got all the way up to the point of doing this thing that would have been really, 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 really bad, but I didn't. And Alana Haim's character freaks out, and everybody starts freaking out, and Rob Pattinson's kind of freaking out, and they're like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, but I didn't, and I was tipsy. And then the whole rest of the movie is them dealing with this sort of, when you think you know someone and you don't, but how do you deal with the feelings of your feelings changing? And even though they didn't do anything, you're thinking like, do I know this person? And it occupies your brain, and it kind of rips you apart, and you're seeing all this stuff. And And after that moment, this movie gets really psychologically weird and kind of fun. And I ended up really enjoying this movie. My issues with this movie is the thing that she did not do, but almost did. To me, growing up in the 90s, I think there was a lot of people that thought about this. It's a heinous thing. It's a bad thing. But it didn't carry the weight of that many people would be that upset about it to freak out and want to destroy Zendaya for being such a horrible person. And it sucks.
CD.
It's hard to. Okay, I'm just gonna. I don't want to reveal it because it's such an important part of the movie.
Well, Vince looked it up. Everyone else can look it up if they want to. Right?
Well, I'm just gonna say it. If you don't want to hear it, 3, 2,
earmuffs.
1. She planned a school shooting.
Oh my God.
And she thought about it. She, made little videos but then when it got to a point, she changed. And she was like, no, this is wrong. She actually ended up becoming a gun activist for most of her life and doing all these things.
Well, she was like, I was playing a lot of violent video games and listening to Marilyn Manson at the time.
But that's what was interesting is, like, she was severely bullied. She was kind of, her father was in the military, not really at home. She didn't have friends at school. And coming from a severely bullied situation when I was a kid, it's isolating. You don't have the internet to be like, oh, well, I've got a community of people. I'm just going to put on my headset and play, a game with my friends, and we can just tell everybody else to go screw off. And it explores this sort of idea of, intrusive thoughts. Everybody has intrusive thoughts. Like when you're driving down the street and it's like, man, I just want to run this idiot over, and you thought about it, but you didn't do it. And where do those thoughts, having those thoughts, draw a line to where people are going to treat you differently, or you're going to have these things, and it's going to affect your relationships because you had those thoughts. And what's interesting about this movie is the way that they shot it and the way that they paced it. You see Robert Pattinson kind of losing his mind, wrestling with this stuff because he loves her so much and he still wants to marry her, but everybody around is like giving him this. And so of course he sees all these, he's having these dreams of her just with guns and stuff, and he can't unthink it and he can't unsee it. And he's like, well, what if she had? What if she's got that inside of her? But what's interesting, by the end of the movie, everyone else around them actually ends up doing things way worse than her not doing it. Like, she actually didn't do anything, but everybody, by the end of the movie, everybody else has done way more unforgivable shit.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, in the 90s, I took the disc 7 of the 8-inch floppy of Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, and I ripped it in half so that no one could ever find Carmen.
What's the worst thing you've ever done, Jake?
Me?
No, we can just gonna play this game. I'll tell you one. It's not the worst thing. But I used to do this thing when I was in college, and I didn't have a whole lot of friends either. And I've always been, I got bullied a lot when I was younger. And I'm not talking like, like bullied. And when I got to college, I was like, well, college is different. College is new. I'm going to go to these parties. But then I've always become a champion for the underdog, because I was like, I want to stand up for these people. So I go to these parties, and I was at a party, if I saw douchebags that like lived in the house, we were at this house party, and they were just being jerk offs or being really mean to someone or being like just shitty to a woman or something like this, I would steal the remote controls from their TVs. And I just throw them in the trash. I would do that. I called it my party prize. I was like, these guys are dickheads. Your remote controls are coming with me, and now I'd trash them.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not the worst thing I've ever done, but it's a funny one.
I know what the worst thing I've ever done was, because I just thought about it, and I'm really embarrassed by it. But it was that when I was in elementary, I got called out of class because someone had found a black widow on the playground, and they wanted me to wrangle it up. And I moved up the brick, and I saw the black widow and the eggs and babies and stuff that it had. And I was trying to figure out how to do it, but there was one of the teachers, a lady teacher, sitting there like putting real pressure on me and everything. And I got scared, and I ended up, I smashed it instead of relocating it. and that bothers me. And I think that's
You killed a spider, and that's been haunting you?
yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't want to hurt it.
I thought you were gonna say like, and I took the Black Widow, and then I let it loose in someone's locker. Like I'd be like, hell yeah, that's a story.
No, because I didn't want to hurt it. I wanted to relocate it because that's what they all knew me in school as like the guy that would mess with the animals to make sure that no one would hurt them. Because I would take spiders out of the school, or I would grab the snake or lizard and move it and do other stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and so they called me, and so yeah, I mean, I got overstimulated and pressured by the teacher, and I ended up
that's the worst
I
thing you've
harmed
ever
that
done.
animal and its offspring, and it makes me feel really awful inside.
Man.
Yeah, actually, that's actually a hurtful memory for me to recall. I hadn't thought about that in 30 years. Oh, dude, I'm old too.
So I'll tell you,
dude, I'm old. This sucks. I'm old and I did something bad.
Well, how here? I'll give you one more anecdotal one because I thought of this because I saw this with a friend and we were trading stories about this after the movie. And another one that came to mind, not something I'm proud of, but
Vince, I was like, I wanted to be Steve Irwin when I was younger. I grew up idolizing naturalists, and I wanted to be a herpetologist. And I was the kid that if there was an animal that came and got me, it was the 90s. I don't know. You tell you.
Star Punch on Twitch says, I told a classmate he couldn't wear a jacket in the McDonald's freezer when we were in high school. I told him it was a tradition. First time in the freezer, no gloves, no jacket. Man, so I feel like this story, man, maybe I was just a diabolical dickhead. But again, you know, growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. And there was this water park where in the city that my grandmother lived in. It was called Point Mallard. It was home of America's first wave pool, by the way. And they had the wave pool was pretty rowdy. I mean, it had good waves. They calmed the waves down over time because it was like dangerous or something. But you weren't allowed to have goggles. You know, they didn't want people swimming under the water for danger purposes or whatever. But I think I really found out the reason because I snuck in some goggles. And then I discovered that, you know, people apparently put things in their pockets. And in the waves would like empty their pockets. So I'd find like, you know, dollar bills, coins, like just lots of weird treasure, right? And so I would go to this water park and I would be diving in. And I guess that I had kind of collected enough of this treasure, and then it started to dry up. The well runneth dry, and I would like take the money to the little arcade at the water park or get like a burger or something, you know, because I was also really fat and I just cashed it all for food. And I was like, man, the well hath run dry. So what I started doing is I would hide a safety pin in my my swim trunks, and then when the waves would start, I would swim out there, and I have my goggles in my pocket, and I would just be swimming around, and then I'd start stabbing everybody's floaties, and so that they would sink down and get into the water to like flush out their pockets, right? And it worked. It worked so well. And they would like, and they'd get in the water. And then, man, one day I got like $100.
Dang.
And yeah, dude. Also, your fault for carrying $20 bills in your swim trunks in a pool, idiot.
Yeah.
But I know it was wrong. It was wrong at the time. But so I would hit all these things, and I'd come out on the shore, and I'd just wait. And you know, I just wait for people to, because I had targets. I didn't just do everybody. I was like, that person's probably got money in their shorts. And then boom, and then I'd come in and I'd go look for treasure.
I did think of something.
Water Wing Bandit, says Starbucks.
I thought of something worse and darker, which was still elementary. I had a magnifying glass, and since I was the outdoor kid,
Did you burn something?
yeah,
An ant?
I taught my friends how to set stuff on fire with the magnifying glass, and then of course they wanted to turn it on to ants, and I did not stop them early on enough time. I did eventually take it away, but there were many an ant.
A few ant lives were lost.
Yeah,
day.
There was like a half a dozen ants or something that got burned alive, and that's not cool. So, but
apparently I was a pirate, and you were.
Well, so man, growing up, I was always bigger and tougher than most of the kids, and I got picked on a lot too. And so, like the kids,
But they couldn't do anything about it because you were taller than them.
not everybody. There were kids that were older and things like that. But I would always stand up for someone that was getting picked on or someone that had a disability and things like that. So I never did anything to harm any person. I would fight back, and I would make sure that no one else was being harmed. But I never did anything to like have any kind of monetary gain
Water weed
or
bandits.
harm anyone.
No one was harmed in my. It was an enterprise. I was an enterprising young pirate.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I
so
just like to read comic books. I played wall ball. Yeah.
but the drama. That's what this
We're
movie's
terrible
about.
people.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought that their chemistry on screen was actually kind of fun, and I've read some reviews of people just saying they just really don't like this movie, but I think it's because they don't understand. There's a lot of subtext in this movie. There's a lot of stuff that's not told verbally, that's told through the structure of the film, and I appreciate that. And it surprised me because I don't usually like romantic comedies, but this one was pretty good. So anyway, it's in theaters right now. You can check it out. And Jake, what did you see? You saw
I saw Thrash.
Thrash?
I'll tell you what, real quick, since we're talking about that elementary. One year we left for summer. We came back, and this kid that I was best friends with, for no reason at all, came up to me and he told me that he intentionally harmed a frog and wanted to go into details about
screw
it.
that.
And I beat his dumb ass and never talked to him again.
Yeah.
So.
What did I mention? Night Ashley on the comments said a lot of people don't like being uncomfortable. This movie makes you extremely uncomfortable. It is you're just like white knuckling your seat because of some of the stuff that's just like so awkward. But anyway, Thrash.
Dude, talking about awkward, yeah, Thrash. It is a Netflix movie about sharks in a small, South Carolina town somewhere close to Myrtle Beach, probably, maybe. Where there's a hurricane coming, and so the levee breaks, and a meat truck crashes onto a Southern soldier statue, and it just cuts that meat truck wide open so that blood fills the water, and all these people who disobeyed the orders to evacuate and stay in their homes, which includes a girl that's agoraphobic because her parents died, and now she can't stand to leave the house, and a pregnant girl who's driving through town and just makes all of the worst decisions of all time, and then some foster kids whose abusive foster parents are just using them for a paycheck. You just can't wait for them to get turned into shark meat.
And do they?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course, yeah. So yeah, it's just all these people who decided to stay in a town 10 feet from the ocean. Not even 10 feet. Part of the town is in the water to begin with. And then they're like, no, we're not going to leave with all of this notice we've been getting and all of these warnings. We're just going to stay in town. And here comes some sharks. And everyone's like, oh yeah, there's these great whites. And Jumon Hinsu.
Great whites? Okay.
Yeah, Jumon Hinsu is like, he's a marine biologist, and he's like, oh, there's no way that great whites, what you're talking about, are bull sharks. And then they're like, turns out there is a great white that we know about, and it's 45 feet long, and it's swimming in this town that has 12 feet of water in it. Yeah. And and then all these bull sharks just eat all of these people, everyone that stayed behind to help. Yeah, that guy. They stayed behind to help people. Well, that's what you get for helping. You get eaten. And all of and the abusive stepfather guy and all this stuff they get, or foster care dude. Everyone just gets eaten. They constantly get bitten and eaten, except
so the sharks know who to eat first.
Exactly. And everyone that they're like, oh, we should save them for last, are the people that would be so easy to eat. They eat all of the difficult to eat or not deserving of being eaten first, and leave all the people that suck and would be really easy to eat for last.
Gotcha.
So
of
that
course.
There's a movie.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's the same thing as that alligator movie, except with less of the creatures. Everyone, all the main characters are just the dumbest, most disagreeable people you can think of. The idea that there's this like massive great white and these bull sharks, and they're like, you can't look 3 inches without seeing a bull shark. Every time they do a above the water, they're like, well, look, there's just 5,000 bull sharks. And at one point they pull open their computer and they're like, what are all those dots? And he goes, those are all sharks.
Oh my
There's
God.
no way that you have every shark on
In
the
the
East
ocean.
Coast tagged to be able to know them. And there's no way that in the middle of a hurricane that you're pinging all of these sharks and you're like, well, that's clearly a shark instead of a piece of wood or a tree or a whatever. So the science in it's dumb. The movie doesn't make sense. At one point, this girl's swimming through the water because she gently floated all of the vibrating electronic devices she could find in her house on the water, which is like a toothbrush and something else and all this.
Okay, I was.
No, they build up for that joke and then don't deliver on it because they're like, what if all these kids, these little foster kids, just yell the F word a lot? And they're like, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, hell yeah. And what if this dumb joke and this stupid, all the humor does not hit in this at all. It's placed very poorly. It doesn't hit at all. Every person getting eaten is just the most foreshadowed, like you can see it coming, death on screen you've ever pictured. And then at one point this girl's swimming and the great white's coming at her, and so she just like opens her legs underwater and the great white swims between her legs because the great white's there not to eat the people, it's there to eat the bull sharks. So
the great white's like the hero.
At the very end of the movie, it jumps up and this bull shark that's about to eat somebody, it just eats the bull shark. And end roll credits.
Definitely sounds like some bull shark.
Dude, at one point, so the girl gives birth to the baby in the water, and then she's swimming around, and then she's like, oh, hold on, baby. Mama's just got to kill this shark real quick, because she's instantly okay, because she had 1 Tylenol extra strength that just makes it where she can be totally fine after all this
Baby having.
So she grabs a piece of wood this big and super jagged, and this full-grown bull shark charges at her, and she pokes it, and it flies to the side, hurt, and she doesn't budge in the water at all. So this like 500, 600-pound animal or more, I'd have to look it up, but it just is deflected and is like, oh, toothpick, ow, and swims away. And then this other one comes at her, and the other girl has this harpoon launcher, and she's an expert shot because one time in a home video her mom showed her how to shoot a Nerf gun. And so she shoots it
She's the sharpshooter.
less than 2 inches away from this woman who just gave birth's face to shoot a shark in the head with a thing. And then Jimon Honsu shows up and he goes, quick, get on this boat that we explicitly said is smaller than the great white that just jumped out of the water and ate this bull shark in front of everybody. And everyone's like, yeah, cool. End of movie. Oh. It's not worth your time. You can walk away from this movie for 45 minutes and
then come back and miss nothing.
Miss nothing. They're like, oh, by the way, that person got ate, and they just talk about it forever.
Good.
You know who's going to get eaten.
Lord.
You know who's not going to get eaten. The getting eaten is just a shark goes, ow, and then goes in the water, and they go, oh. That's the whole scene. They don't have like them screaming or like crazy shark. Like,
that's ridiculous.
The only redeeming quality of the movie is that there's a couple of shots of sharks where you would be like, oh, that looks like an animatronic. So the CGI in a few shots is not
some
bad.
effects. Okay,
yeah,
well.
but I mean, it's super dumb. It was shot in Australia. It's just a way for them to bully Southern people too, because everyone has the worst, fakest Southern accents, except for the Australian guy who's playing the foster parent.
That's like Ryan Kwanzu did the best Southern accent. He's Australian.
Yeah, dude, it's very Hurricane Heist. And then the movie ends with a second hurricane coming, and this dude's like, oh no,
more shouts.
Yeah, so it's the most brain dead, you don't have to pay attention horse crap movie. It's not. It's very Netflix cut, like paint by number, cookie cutter horse crap.
Well, it's on Netflix if you want to check it out. Thrashed. Yuck. Well, let's jump into the box office because we are almost out of time for the show here. We're going to do the top 10 movies in the United States from the weekend of April 10th through 12th, 2026. And I do want to mention number 12.
Okay. I'm shocked by. I think Night Ashley had never seen Jaws.
in the
before.
Jaw. Oh wait, in the chat. Oh, so Night Ashley over on Twitch said I watched Jaws with my daughter the other day. I didn't enjoy it the first time I watched it, but loved it this time. Yeah,
Jaws is great.
a great
Jaws
movie.
is a great movie. It's
a great shark movie.
Thrash is not.
one of the best shark movies, honestly. So,
yeah.
But number 12, I wanted to mention number 12 because it opened at number 12, which is that movie Beast, which is the kind of UFC bullcrap. And I'm kind of glad it came up from Lionsgate. And just like why it was, we talked about that UFC movie. Who cares?
$800,000 brought in by Beast. Sucks for like Russell Crowe and everything, the people involved in it. But yeah, I mean, no one knew about it. No one asked for it. Also, I do think it's interesting that Durandar is still up there in 13. The top range of movies. Yeah. But then number 11, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. You talked to us about it last week. And then at number 10, dropping from the number 5 spot. Reminders of Him, but it's been out there for 5 weeks.
Yeah, that was an impressive run.
Brought in just under $1 million, bringing it up to $47.5 million here so far. Another 37 elsewhere in the world. So
I did not expect that.
Yeah, $84 million for that one. I think the people that have gone to watch it have liked it because that's what they're in for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think it's anything that people are years from now will be like, oh, you got to watch this movie. At number 9, dropping from the number 6 spot, A Great Awakening, only in its second week. $1.2 million for that one, bringing it up to just shy of $5 million so far. And then opening at number 8, Exit 8, the movie I mentioned
and I wanted to see, but it's only in 495 theaters.
Yep. $1.4 million brought in for a Japanese movie. And then at number 7, the new Faces of Death from Independent Film Company Films, or Independent Film Channel Films.
IFC.
$1.6 million for the new take on Faces of
That's
Death.
one that I thought would be a little bit more, but it's not in many theaters. It's only in 1,600 theaters.
I think it's so far removed from the people that would know what that is.
I agree.
And it wasn't advertised to that, and a generation that you would want to get to go to that movie are just,
we don't care anymore.
They don't know. Yeah. And then at number 6, BTS World Tour Ararang in Goyang live viewing. Okay.
So I guess it was like a live view, like a
live concert.
Yeah,
who
cool.
knows? I don't know. $2.4 million because BTS just can't stop making money. They made whole new laws in Korea just for those guys.
Yep.
How about that? And then at number 5, Hoppers, $4 million in its 6th week out, bringing it up to $157 million in the U.S. Another $200 million elsewhere in the world. So a little over $350 million for that one. And then opening at number 4, You, Me, and Tuscany. It's cool to cheat on people and lie about life. You'll succeed as long as.
Well, it opened at number 4 though.
You got your boobies on you. $7.7 million brought in for bullshit. And then holding the number 3 spot above that, the movie you just talked to us about, The Drama, $8.7 million in its second week, bringing it up to just under $31 million so far. A little under 12 elsewhere, bringing it up to 42.7. And then keeping the number 2 spot, Project Hail Mary, $24.1 million. Very cool.
Yeah, another
Fourth
strong
week
weekend.
out. A little over $250 million for that one, and then another $250 million elsewhere in the world. So it's sitting at $510 million. Good. Project Hail Mary is really good. I almost did that thing I talked about last week where I just went and watched it a second time. I need to find its Lego sets. I'm actually really interested.
Oh, those will be cool.
Yep. And then keeping the top spot, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, references and Easter eggs. Forget the plot. You don't need it. We're here as a CGI showcase. Tell your kids to shut up and buy Nintendo merch. Brought in $68 million.
It's working.
Yeah, bringing it up to 307.2 in the U.S. alone, another 321.4 elsewhere in the world, $628.6 million in 2 weeks.
That's a bunch of money. Rich.
Vince, go do it. Project Hail Mary is awesome.
Well, yes, if you haven't seen that movie, go definitely check a look because it's worth seeing. in a theater. Definitely a good theater movie. But yeah, that's the top 10, and that's our show, guys. We're done. Thanks for joining us for this past hour. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever it is you feel like liking and subscribing. We do really appreciate the Twitch and all of our viewers over on Twitch and commenters over on Twitch. Thanks for tuning in. You can download this podcast wherever it is you download podcasts. Just search for the Drive-In Speaker Box Podcast. You can find all of our Discord information, all that fun stuff on our link tree, thedriveinspeakerbox.com. And you are welcome for the show, dudes. We appreciate you guys. We will not be here next week. I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be in Gay Paris. So, yeah, wish me luck flying across the pond in all of this turmoil-filled TSA days. So, hopefully I make it back in one piece. But with that, we'll catch you later.
See ya.
As you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.